welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayome Sale, and today I'm joined by the amazing Elsie Godwin. All lovely in yellow and black. Why did we plan it today? I'm doing yellow pink, you're doing yellow black.
No, let's talk about your hair.
Do
you want to tell them the origin?
Oh,
just
okay.
tell them the truth.
No, but me know me, I know
we have
line
a topic tomorrow, and it's about being
packaging.
sincere. Don't package the truth. Just tell them where this hair came from.
Okay, so damn me of lush hair, I'm calling you out. That means we were supposed to go and make our hair, and she had to cancel because they had some things to do. So I had this hair on last week, no, for 3 weeks actually. I've had it for 3 weeks. So this is like the 4th week. So yesterday I was just frustrated because as the hair is getting older, it's getting fuller. So I just took a big scissors and I chopped everything, and I think I like the style. Yeah. What do you think?
It actually looks really good. Like it looks really good.
So I just chopped it off.
And I think it's another style. What's it called? What's the name of the chorus now you made? I know mine was Ronnie chorus.
Ronnie?
Yeah.
I think mine is Nora, I think.
Yeah, so I guess this should be something.
Yeah, they should look, honestly, it's really nice. Good, yeah. When I was chopping, my husband was wondering, what are you doing with your hair? I said, don't worry, when I'm done, you like it.
Because it came out nice, sure. If the hair no come out nice, I'm going to go the straights. Well,
thank you. How are you? So how about your own hair?
As people disappoint me, I have wigs now. Hey, I don't used to lack wigs. The only wig I'm lacking now is bone straight. So please, if you care about me, I want don't buy me fake bone straight. If you will not buy bone straight, don't buy it. Original bone straight and send to me. But you see, wig, I don't like food. I brought 3 now.
Yeah, but this is really
our makeup artist said this is better.
No, this is actually, yeah.
Like, okay, cool.
It's very nice and easy on the eye.
Bone straight.
Bone straight is coming. Okay. All right, so today we're talking, what are we talking about? Tech startups, right? That's the conversation for tonight. And here's what we found as today's quote. Science and policy making thrive on challenge and questioning. They are vital to the health of inquiry and democracy. This is from Nicholas Stern. What do you think about this quote, Elsie?
Yeah, I know that questioning is very important, and even when you face challenges, it's an opportunity for you to move to the next level, create something, fix something, and make it better. So it's a very apt quote, and I'm considering what we're talking about now, not just tech startup, but of course the startup bill and what we should know about creating laws and bills that works for us in the country. So I think it's very apt for the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so how much understanding do you have on the process of creating a bill and how a bill becomes a law? Why should we pay attention to our legislature and all they do? And what is the startup bill about, and why is it so important? Those are the questions that we're going to be having the conversations around tonight. And Olariwaju and Kasim, they are here to discuss this. But first, we'll take a break to see what we found in the news. World Breastfeeding Week is an annual celebration held from the 1st to the 7th of August in more than 120 countries. The theme of World Breastfeeding Week 2021 is Protect Breastfeeding, a Shared Responsibility. It focuses on how breastfeeding contributes to the survival, health and well-being of all, and the imperative to protect breastfeeding worldwide. The theme highlights the links between breastfeeding and survival, health and well-being of women, children and nation. This campaign aims to inform, engage, galvanize action on breastfeeding and related issues. So this week is going to be all about the boobies.
Yes, yes.
I love breastfeeding, actually. I enjoy it.
You enjoy it.
Yes.
I like that you're saying you enjoy it, because I have a question for you. I saw a tweet. I think this was 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. You know what Twitter does now? They'll send you the notification, but you can't go in, right? So sometimes I just open the notification, I read it, and I know since I can't go in, I don't really bother. But I saw from a popular YouTuber where she was saying she is it breastfed now?
Breastfed.
Her child for 2 years and 6 months.
No, me, I can't go that far.
Yeah, so that's my question.
I can't go that far. So for me, first of all, which is what they always preach about, exclusive breastfeeding. I did exclusive breastfeeding. For my first son, I think he even managed to last up till 5 months. Normally, it's supposed to be 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months.
You know, but he managed up to 5 months until he became extremely hungry that my breast milk could not sustain.
The breast
Could not sustain him, so I had to introduce him. And I mean, for them, my children, immediately from breast milk, they just go directly to food. They don't even want to eat the baby food. They didn't do that, you know. So, but my second son, I think that one, he lasted till 4 months before he was craving, because they will literally be dragging your plate of food with you. They want to eat it. But I noticed that with breastfeeding, I have never taken my children to the hospital. Like, say, okay, they are on admission, they are sick. I have never, you know. So, I mean, these were the things we were told when we were having our kids, that breastfeed so that, you know, it just protects them. Again, of course, mental capacity, so many things that comes with breastfeeding.
At least it's 6 months exclusive.
Yes,
really advisable.
Very advisable. So after that, you can decide to stop. But they stop, I think, between, I can't remember, maybe I got up to a year, but I don't, 2 years, that's a lot. You know, the one that the child will come and meet you, Mommy, I want to suck breast. Is that what you want?
They come meet you. I'm like, if I deck you.
I had a friend. So she'll be in public like this. The child will literally be struggling the breast, you know, and all that. So when the father came, said, "Come, please stop embarrassing my wife." So they had to stop the child. You know, some mothers are that attached, but I'm not that kind of.
But you just said that you like it, so maybe
I enjoyed breastfeeding, but not to age 2.5. That's a long time. No, my children, they start school immediately. They turn 1. After they turn 1, the next school session. So I have one in August, one in July. So a month and a year and a month, the first one started school. A year and 2 months, the second one started school. How can you be going to school and then coming back to breast? No.
No, you pump.
No, not me and you. No, at that age, funny enough, they don't like it in a bottle. They actually like it because they are now very attached to you. So it's actually tougher when you breastfeed up to that age, 2 years and whatever, to separate them from the breast. Because then they are really attached to you.
That cannot be me. Let me sound like Uti. It cannot be me.
It can't. But breastfeeding, I mean, to any mother out there, because some mothers are actually, when they give birth to their child, they might be ill, so they might not be able to breastfeed. But if you can, I mean, by all means, it's the best, you know, for your child.
Okay.
Yep.
Breastfeed away. What definitely?
We're waiting for you. Don't worry.
Me?
Yes.
You told me more than 6 months. At least I want to do exclusive for 6 months. I really want to do exclusive.
Still stretch it maybe to 8-9 months.
What's happening?
No, after the exclusive of 6 months, then stretch. No, it's still good for them to have the breast milk and other food while you're trying to introduce them.
I can do like 5 months and then stretch for 1 month, 6 months.
You're not all right. What did you find for us in the news?
So in the news, Nigeria receives 4 million doses of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine donated by the Biden-Harris administration. The President of the United States had in May pledged to share 80 million vaccines produced in the United States with countries around the world to protect the most vulnerable. Of the 80 million, Africa is expected to receive 25 million. I mean, this is good because I'm hoping that I will be part of those who would get the Moderna.
I have actually been looking forward to this particular vaccine because it's a one-shot vaccine.
And I'm sure I'm going to get. I'll come and tell you guys when I do, and tell you if I react or not.
Yeah, it's a one-shot vaccine. And my sister-in-law that lives in the US, I mean, most of them, they opt for they have options.
Yeah.
So a lot of people actually opt for the Moderna vaccine. So because amongst all the vaccines, Moderna is one of the vaccines that have not had any, any negative press on it, yes, according to her. So
and I remember you said something behind the scene. I think we should mention that. Please, those have taken.
I'm quite worried. The Pfizer, no, AstraZeneca.
Yes, please don't go back to. We know Nigerians. We can be very funny.
They will say, this one I hear say this one good.
You have been
vaccinated.
This is not for you. Let people like myself and
that have not taken.
You know, let's be able to get something. Please, I am begging. I beg.
Because I'm actually suspecting a lot of Nigerians that have taken that they might want to go there because once you hear that this one is
because you already said that this one is better. Like Shonami won't die. Let's take it. It's all together.
It is well. All right. So my story is actually also linked to COVID-19. The headline says COVID-19 as Nigerians doctored down to country confirms 407 new infections. Now they said. The 407 new cases have raised Nigeria's total infection to about 174,315. That's so far confirmed cases of COVID-19. And this was confirmed on Sunday, this 407 new cases. 16, right? The 16 states, and including the Federal Capital Territory, are the states that, you know, this new...
Lagos is still the king of the jungle.
Lagos is the king of the jungle. It says, though the figure is less than 497 recorded in 24 hours earlier, it is still higher compared to the consistent steep reduction in the number of cases that were recorded before the highly transmittable. So this is happening as a result of the Delta variant, you know, that's been going around in the country. So we're just hoping, and I was trying to really search if the doctors, because the doctors had announced on Friday that they were going to go on strike today. So I was trying to search if there is any counter report that says, okay, they didn't go on strike or not, but it's not confirmed yet. But according to the report, doctors have downed the tool, so we don't know if the doctors are truly on strike. But this is actually very scary. We cannot afford to have doctors on
strike now.
On strike at this point in Nigeria, especially with the rising cases of COVID. I mean, over the weekend, when was it Rachel Oniga, God rest her soul, that passed?
Yeah.
You know, there were rumors and speculations that she had passed as a result of COVID, but the family came out to write a report that no, it wasn't COVID, it was heart complications and all of that. You know, but I'm just saying to you that
so
there have been rising cases of death.
The confusion we're having is English language. There's a difference when you die of COVID-19 and you die from COVID-19, right? So we're not saying she did not have any condition. I mean,
she must have had health complications, but it is always underlying health conditions, you know, that aggravates the COVID.
May her soul rest in peace.
Yeah. So I'm just saying to everyone that, honestly speaking, a lot of people have been falling sick lately. You know, I have typhoid, I have malaria.
It's even more than, there's space.
We are far. Yeah. So I'm just saying that people need to be very, very careful. I mean, go and resuscitate your toolkits, your vitamins, your, what's it called, your nose mask, your sanitizers. Always wash your hands.
And also, like you said, always wash your hand, wear your face mask, avoid gatherings that you can avoid.
I'm telling you.
It's not necessary to go and dorime. Avoid gatherings you can avoid. Wash your hands. Just stay safe, please. Stay safe. We love you. Stay safe.
Absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be able to surmount this challenge. All right, so when we take a break, we'll take a break. When we return from the break, we're going to be talking about startups, right? Stay with us, we'll be right back.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Don't concern yourself too much with what others think, because that will slow your own progress down.
If you've not worked in corporate world and you decide to start off your own thing, except you obviously get like the required skills, you definitely would have a lot of glitches along the way.
This my entrepreneurship journey. The greatest problem I have are dedicated staff. You see,
that's
are
a
willing
problem.
to get to the job before the job starts. God forbid they resume at 8. They will literally fall down and die.
There's a lot of entitlement that comes up in marriages, both on the
if you're
side
married to me,
of
I'm so
men
entitled
and
to you.
women. No, I'm not saying we're not entitled, and that's the honest truth. But I think that there's a lot of entitlement that sometimes comes in.
Your wife was there.
No.
She carried your baby. She sacrificed her life. Made
I
sacrifices
wouldn't
in the
shred
workplace.
it if this
And
was a man.
now you're not telling me 5 years into the marriage you need a prenup? Guy, check yourself.
Something, there must be a reason for something.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, a report compiled by FDI Intelligence, a specialist division of the Financial Times, in collaboration with research company Brita Briggs, aiming to map Africa's nascent tech ecosystem and explore their potential, revealed that Nigeria had the highest volume of startups, over 750, while South Africa came second, but its startup had raised about $241 million in 2020 compared to Nigeria's $64.1 million. It revealed that Nigeria was missing altogether in the top 10 rankings for categories that are critical to helping a startup thrive beyond its founding, including cost effectiveness and the level of the country-wide tech talent. It also ranked 6th for business friendliness. Now, this highlights the frustrating state of conducting business in Nigeria, where entrepreneurs must contend with stifling government policies, infrastructural issues such as poor internet speed, access, connection, and a host of other systemic challenges. Now, if you're a startup or you know someone that is a startup, what are the challenges that you have faced as regards policies, right? That's our conversation tonight. Please send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Why are you dancing with my skirt? I also, you're in the mood. I can see that. Please, who paid you money? Let us collect the money.
It's not money, it's just that joy that comes from within.
Okay, I hear you. How are you, Elsie?
I'm great, sure.
So, tell me, do you know any startup that that you've had maybe contacts with recent times, and what has been your experience or the challenges that you think they are facing?
Okay, but I don't think we've gotten to the challenges yet, but I know I'm working with a startup at the moment. They're trying to get into the market, but we're still in the pre-launch phase, and they're just trying to fix everything and make sure it is right. But speaking generally, I know that when people want to have this conversation, they'll raise the Go Kada placard first, right? And it was emotional for a lot of people because that was a business that touched the grassroots in terms of providing a lot of jobs for those who were working with their system at the time. You know, I know they are still in business, but we understand how the impact was at the time. So there's been a lot of issues for startups, from their taxation to policies that can just push them out of business overnight, and people are really scared. As much as we are getting the investment, they are still worried about investment in a certain area. They don't know what will happen if the government just feels like they want to come into the business, or that they just think that this is not working anymore. You can get from outright ban to suspension to come back to the drawing board, you know, and that's a lot of volatility when it comes to investment.
And that's really sad, because that volatility is what affects foreign direct investments, where people are scared. You know, look at South Africa. I mean, when I was reading this research, they talked about the number of startups. We have the numbers in terms of the people that, I mean, the turnover for startups. We have the numbers here in Nigeria. South Africa's number is second to ours, you know, comparing, if you want to talk about volume. But in terms of the ability to attract investors, they are attracting investments, you know, getting the bigger chunks of the of investment, you know, than Nigeria, that is supposed to have. I mean, we have the numbers and we're supposed to be the one attracting those numbers. So it's actually very, very tricky again, because once you make one policy, I mean, that Gokada one, I've not gotten over it, because I can't get over it, because I mean, just one policy and the entire ecosystem, what they were trying to build and everything, completely came crumbling down without any heads up. And this is something that a previous administration had, you know, signed, sealed, delivered. So in your mind, you started a business and you just go to sleep, only for you to wake up. And the next, you know,
I like this conversation, because when all this happened, a lot of people were of the opinion that innovators, tech startups, private people, those that have got the ideas, entrepreneurs, need to infiltrate the government or work with the government to ensure that there are bills and policies and laws that also favor them. So you have to do a lot of lobbying and conversation, really. And
do we really need to
let
lobby?
them understand.
How many lobby can you lobby?
Happens
just make the rule that is fair to everyone.
You know, I'm glad we're having a conversation. So let's understand how to create these bills.
We would understand it all. Let me bring it on. Olarewaju is the head of Tech Cabal Insight and its Pioneer Team lead. TC Insight is the data analytics, research and consulting unit of Tech Cabal, the leading publication on African innovation and technology. The unit helps big tech development organization and other stakeholders answer specific questions about Africa's growing technology industry. And we have another guest joining us via Zoom. He's live with us in studio. Thank you for joining us. We have another guest, Kasim Sodangi is the head of compliance at Smile Identity. He is an experienced professional in tech regulations and policy, corporate finance, legal advisory services, and marketing communications. And he's joined us live via Zoom. Where is he joining us from again? What country are you in?
I'm joining from the UK. I'm in London.
Thank you for joining us. He's joining us live from the UK.
My spirit is in Nigeria, though.
Okay, so you heard our banter on startups. First of all, maybe we should just give a small background, you know. What exactly is this startup bill about? Because we already know the challenges that startups face. These erratic policies that just, you know, completely crumbles your business. What exactly is a startup? What's the startup bill about? And why do we even need a startup bill, you know, passed at this time?
Okay, thank you very much. So the Nigerian Startup Bill is a joint initiative between the government and then the private sector. So we've got people in the presidency, as well as actual startup founders, as well as investors and all other people in the ecosystem. And I like the fact that you mentioned, you know, the bike hailing ban and all of that, because that's exactly what the Nigerian Startup Bill is being designed to address, is things like regulatory uncertainty, you know, so the government doesn't just wake up, you know, and then create laws that could hinder startups. So we've got like people working together from both the government and private sector end to sort of like bridge that gap. And secondly, is also, apart from just regulatory uncertainty, even like creating an enabling business environment. So things like tax incentives, things like training and capacity building, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. It's just looking holistically, you know, at how you enable startups to grow, how you support them. And the interesting about this particular initiative is it's not just government, just creating laws, is like they're talking to the ecosystem, so you've got people on the group or the committee or the advisory board sort of working together from both the government and private sector startups actually.
Okay, let me come to Kasim.
Yeah, I was going to ask Kasim. I have a follow-up question to that, but because I want to take us a bit back, so Kasim can take that. What's this process like for us to have a bill? Whether it
Are you talking to Kasim now?
Yeah, to Kasim. Whether it is Nigeria Startup Bill or any bill at all, what's the process like?
So that's a very good question because it's the foundational basis for drafting a bill, really. What is the process? The process is as important as what happens to the content of the bill. You would have to decide if it's a private bill or it's an executive bill, or an aspect of the private bill is what you may call a legislative bill originating from either the Senate chambers or the House of Representatives. There are 11 processes in all, and they are quite exhaustive. We may take too much time. But what should be understood really is that when you draft the initial bill, what you have in mind, your intent, what you intend to achieve, and you're certain about the purpose and the objective, the next thing to do is to really take it to the National Assembly. If it's an executive bill, it goes typically to the Federal Executive Council, it receives the assent of the Federal Executive Council, and then it's passed to the Senate or the National Assembly. Most likely the Senate is an executive bill. For a legislative bill, it can emanate either from the House of Representatives or from the Senate. It goes through a basic committee process where the bill is reviewed to see if it meets all the basic requirements that are required of a bill. It then moves on to the initial reading of the bill just to notify the House that the bill has come in and this is what the bill is about. Then it goes through a third process, which is the gazetting. The gazetting is to notify the public that this bill is before the House. Then it goes through a first reading, a second reading, it is debated upon. It is sent back to a committee level for detailed review to incorporate some more aspects of the debate or to remove things or delete things that are considered extraneous to the bill. Then there's a committee report. Then there's another reading and a final debate. Then there's a clean copy of the bill before it is then presented to the houses for a vote and concurrence, then the assent of the president. This is just a quick breeze through what the process is, but essentially, these are the processes that need to going through the House. But the key critical thing is that before you have a bill go through the National Assembly, your stakeholder engagement process has to be thorough, it has to be well thought through. You need to have a framework that thinks about what you want to achieve and the role of the stakeholders and the politics, if you like, because they are always interested. I mean, governance is the business of balancing competing interests. So that's sort of that kind of conversation is where the bill is now, just ensuring that stakeholders are aligned, stakeholders understand what is to be achieved, just to be able to reflect the views of critical stakeholders before, the bill goes to the National Assembly. Hopefully, we anticipate that it's an executive bill. If that happens, then it gives it sort of the oomph that is required to have a bill that has the backing.
Oga Kazim, you know, oomph. So please, because you see, when it comes to anything that has to do with Nigeria, I am very wary sometimes. You know why I say that? I mean, a business will not just wake up and just start, In my head, as a small business person, I have done the needful, which are the things that the law says I must put in place. Right? What gives that tomorrow, even if this bill is passed, what just gives that something will not happen and this oomph that you're talking about will just go down the drain? Because we have seen cases of businesses, startups have started, and all of a sudden, one government policy, I'm talking about the volatility of our government structure in Nigeria, especially political structure, where different administration, they come with their own different agenda, and not even considering the existing structure on ground or the businesses that would suffer in the process.
So it's a very genuine fear, and I'm not sure there's 100% immune plan for that kind of thing beyond two things. One, the political process. I think that the essence of engagement of stakeholders is really critical, because what it means, I've worked in government previously, and I've seen policies that if they're well thought through, if they're properly aligned, the government tends to push them forward, even if it opposes. I'll give you an example. The Sovereign Wealth Fund was not very popular with the current government when it was in opposition. But because of the transparent processes and sort of the fund achieving some of its objectives, it then aligned and became the vehicle that the current government has not only increased sort of the availability of capital, but has supported to perform, right? Above all the other noise that one would hear. So in some way, it is having to craft it properly and giving government sort of ensuring that the objectives are well aligned. And, for government, you see, we telling ourselves the truth. Governments need trophy projects. They need projects to also say, look, we are aligned with the youth, we are aligned with the things that need to happen. So you need to find those triggers, those incentives also for government. Because oftentimes we speak about incentives for businesses and so on, but real politics will mean that we have to think about what mileage does it give this government? And, if it gives them mileage, does it help my business? You see, those are some of the questions we're trying to answer. Okay. So in summary,
I will keep my doubting Thomas self to myself. I'll say.
So I'd like a few more examples, but for time.
Okay.
So when I read when I saw a story on the Nigeria Startup Bill, and I read through the websites, it was interesting to me, and then I put it up on my WhatsApp story. And I got questions from people wondering, how is this going to happen? And one of those questions was the definition of what the startup bill would really cover and who are the people that would benefit from it. So when you look at the name, the Nigeria Startup Bill, I think that's a very broad name, but when you read the content, it just talks about a tech ecosystem. So is this just about the tech startup, or is this considering all startups in Nigeria?
Thank you. So one of the things that the bill hopes to achieve is to define what a startup is, because, that definition sometimes can be open to debate, so this is very specific to like the tech ecosystem, so tech startups, and there will be like a clear definition of tech startups. So businesses that use technology, either their core business is technology or is tech enabled. So so it's very clear, in terms of like who exactly the bill is addressing, but it's not all startups. It's specifically tech startups. Yeah. Okay, so both tech startups and tech-enabled
businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like where we're going with this conversation. You know why I say I like it? Because our show is focused on young people, and who are the people that are on this tech platform? It is the young people are the ones on the tech platform. Is the youth that are in that space. So if we say tomorrow, this bill is in place, right? What is the protection that some of these businesses will begin to enjoy? Is there like maybe something they have to do to sign up to this so that they are not part of your ecosystem? Because what we are trying to do is find ways, because they said, first of all, our population in 2050 is going to be the third largest. That's number one. Every time I think about that, I have a headache. I don't know why my leaders. I don't know why my leaders are not having headache, but we'll be the number 3 in the world, most populated country. That's number one. Number two, our population, we actually are very, very heavy. Our youth population is actually very big. We have a young population that seems like they're not engaged. So that's my second fear. So number 3 is, in all of these things, they say again that entrepreneurs are the drivers of every economy, right? So how do we position every young startup business, every young tech startup business, to say, okay, they will benefit when this thing comes, to light? I think that's a question I'd like to answer, but we need to go on a very short break. Okay. Before we go on that break, I just wanted to make a quick correction. The Moderna vaccine is actually 2 shots, and it is 2 shots within 28 days apart. So it's actually 2 shots, not 1 shot. So my bad. We'll take a break. When we return from the break, he's going to answer my question. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the result of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, have you?
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let everybody come and say. The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Now, thanks for staying with us. If you just tuned in, we are having an amazing chat with Olarinwaju and Kazim on enacting the right laws as regards Nigerian startup. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. All right, so Olarinwaju, the question I had posed to you before the break about, protecting, that ecosystem, because first of all, we want to build more entrepreneurs, young startup and young entrepreneurs that would employ more people. We're trying to fight this population that is coming, that's inevitable in the future. And so how do we protect, and how do they now, they're now benefiting from this?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I would like Kazim to also speak to this in terms of the specifics of the bill. But one thing that I can say is there are like three main pillars, that the bill covers. So there's funding, which is something that is very, very crucial. I know that there's a section of the bill that speaks to a credit guarantee scheme, which just means that if startups want to access loans, there's cover for them and all of that. There's also just regulation, which we were saying, there's just certainty about, regulation and all of that. And also, just even for people that support startups, so incubators, accelerators, they get incentives and rebates, so which means if they were supporting fewer startups, then they have room to support more people, and all of that. And also infrastructure, you have tech parks where people can probably walk in to use the internet or something, depending, on what the eventual infrastructure looks like. But there's definitely provision for tech parks and all of that. So those are things that are helpful, for young people. They're looking to build startups and businesses. And also there's going to be a portal, so everyone can, some sort of, database of startups and all of that. One thing that I wanted to point out is some of that work is already going on, because this bill is being developed or designed in partnership with startups. So the startups that are engaging, with the group of people that are putting together this bill, like I said before, is a marriage of some sort between government and startups. So the people who are constantly engaging with, who are actual startup founders, asking them what should go in this bill, what should it look like, and all of that. So it's not something that people are just building without involving those that could be involved. Even people that are just new to the startup world, so early stage startups that are, starting out, for lack of a better word. Finally, I want to speak something about, the trust deficit. You said you were very concerned about that. I think, look, one of the things that was very clear from just the bike hailing scenario is we need to work with government, more.
This company worked with government. Don't go there.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, they worked with government. Government changed. Yes, and things changed.
No, actually, yes, I agree. So there was some engagement.
Yeah.
But again, there was no startup bill. There was no law in place. Probably if the bill was in place already, there could be like some legal conversation that is this even legal and all of that, But like there is no world where the solution is not working with government. You just cannot.
Let me hear Kazim.
Yeah, so I think Kazim should speak to the regulation uncertainty part of this bill.
Okay.
How is it going to make things better, and what do we hope to see in the regulation sector of this bill?
The bill will not solve Nigeria's problems. I'm sorry to sound, but it's also to start with those kind of, if you like, derogations or delineations. But it is well targeted to ensure that at certain level, there's better coordination, between policymakers and stakeholders. Sometimes just creating a forum for conversations. There are many things the states can do. Don't forget that we operate a federal system with different tiers of government. There are very little things where the federal government can make laws to bind states. However, the practice has been, and there's some documentary evidence to show that when the federal government takes a particular direction, the state tends to follow, and then they complement some of the actions that are taken by the state. So it is true that there's still challenges, and these challenges will require education, elevating the thinking of policymakers, and so on. But specifically, what it tries to do is bring some coordination and some clear thinking, and some, if you like, marshalling what the objectives are, the national objectives are, and saying, look, guys, this is what we want to achieve. I've worked in government previously. Sometimes we assume that there's an understanding and perception within government. But many times, they don't see it the way we do. Government doesn't see it the way, businesses would, or some of the data we have access to. There's a way things happen in government. That's an entirely different conversation. So the startup bill would essentially create that synergy through a proposal of a council that will mean that you can align policy development and advocate from it from a starting point that will mean through the Federal Executive Council, the Council of States, there will be discussions and making the issues topical, so that we can close the asymmetry, the gaps of information between the startup owners the startup founders and investors who are on the council themselves and the government. We need to create more of these linkages for communications, and there's no escaping that whole, But then there are other things. There are also and I'll also say that the bill is bullish, very, very bullish. It would ask the Nigerian states to confront certain demons and kill it once and for all. Create clear incentives, provide access to certain kind of capital. It's also a call for the government to respond in a clear way on where we want to go. It will also be a barometer of sorts to say, look, is the government with the young people of Nigeria or not? Because sometimes there are all kinds of things that happen in the communication, So this bill is a distillation of the things that affect, especially the populations that are inclined and have an opportunity to build capacity towards technology. It will test the resolve of government because it is asking for certain things that government may not be comfortable with, but it is also going to say, look, we place a value on the state of the young Nigerians, and we will push this, as much as we can. I think that the communication has to happen. There's no point to relent at any point. Beyond the bill, the engagement needs to happen. A monitoring mechanism needs to happen. We need to remind the government that this bill is law, and also use the instrumentality of courts or civil society. The work is enormous. And one has to be you have to be vigilant. The stakeholders of the startup ecosystem need to remain vigilant to ensure it passes. This is no mean feat, and there's no point that one will relax.
Okay, so do you want to ask? No.
Okay. But we would have to think through and do the hard work.
We have to do the hard work. Yeah, so some of the reservations I got as well. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that there are existing laws that cannot be subjected to any other law, right? I don't know if this bill is going to cover issues like tax, issues that have those sort of laws I'm talking about. So, and some of the opinion that it would be better to look at those laws and work with the government to better those laws, the laws that we say, or the constitution that we say are very backward and that needs to be revamped and nothing is being done about it, work with them to get it better than trying to create another law entirely. What do you think about that?
That's more a Kazim question, because actually,
Kazim, do you want to take that?
Because he's a lawyer. But I know that we're reviewing existing laws to look at, which one to take in and all of that to accommodate in the startup bill, But again, there is really no bill or law per se that addresses the tech startup ecosystem. That doesn't exist in its.
So it's almost like building something clean. Kazim, can you respond to Elsie's question?
Yes, I will. It's a very good question. And I'll say that, so for instance, there's nothing we can do about binding the states, for instance. because there's separation of power issues that are constitutional in Nigeria. So you cannot simply create a law that compels a state to act within a matter that is on the exclusive list for states. However, there are certain things you can do to sort of give a nudge or pointers, and then engage to states to see that they build their own ancillary frameworks. There are certain laws that are entirely changeable, but there are also stakeholder issues, right? Stakeholders are powerful depending on the interests and the particular industry. So one has to think about how to engage the stakeholders and to align the interests. You see, in government, that's why they call it pork barrel. You see, you have to really think about the politics. Anywhere in the world, laws are about balancing the interests of stakeholders. So what we've tried to do is to look at the other laws that exist that are entirely changeable, especially the federal laws, and propose sort of changes or sort of amendments that would mean that you are aligning these laws towards, benefiting startups. So I'll give you an example. One is the Corporate Income Tax Act. There are many provisions in the Act. There are a number of provisions that allow the President, on the recommendation of the Minister, to even exempt classes of companies from paying certain kinds of taxes. We're exploring and exploiting that kind of opportunity. We're also looking at that there are certain agencies of government that have subsidiary powers to create what you call subsidiary laws or regulations or frameworks. We're also exploiting that to compel them, to nudge them, to say, listen, why don't you, incorporate these aspects as part of your laws? And in some cases, even just creating laws from what they should have done as regulation. National Assembly has the right and the mandate to create further laws on anything that is the subsidiary law in Nigeria. So we're also sort of looking at those specific areas. But I'll also say something about the National Assembly. Anything that is within the purview of agencies, except for, for many of the agencies, except for a very few, the National Assembly can make laws for the implementation of policies. In many cases, a lot of agencies operate under these administrative laws or subsidiary legislations that the National Assembly has entire powers to pass. So we're to pass laws on. So we're also exploiting and exploring those possibilities. What we've tried to do is assess where the gaps are and try to come up with, if you like, clever ways to put forward agendas. We know that for some agencies, the conversation might be, oh, this is a non-starter. But again, with engagement with executive will, these things can be aligned. We are aware of the constitutional aspects where we cannot change, but there are many, many more areas that can be tweaked. We're really exploring that with the team of lawyers that we have and sort of the stakeholders that are part of the
Hey, Kazim, Kasim, my friend. Okay, so I want to stay on him. These comments I heard, you are the one that will take it. But I want to stay on you because
there's a question you asked that have not been answered.
Which is
when you were talking about the youth and the population and how people can tap into this bill, and you were asking if they have to be part of a body.
Okay, yeah, that is on one side. He would answer that, but I wanted to stay on this law that Kazim just mentioned. In Nigeria, it's not for lack of laws that we do not. It's not like we have very nice laws on papers. Like we have plenty beautiful layouts, ease of doing business, everything. Is on paper. It is sweet when you read it. Say, I want to do business in Nigeria. Implementation has always been one of the biggest struggles that we've always had when it comes to anything that has to do with government. Implementation and sticking to the law that you have enacted. So how do we make this work? Or how is it going to work?
So again, I say to you that political will is important. We will never underestimate the argument of political will. But however, there are many laws in Nigeria that are crafted without careful recourse to structures that can make it work. I know of a bill that would have been monumental in funding some of the security agencies in Nigeria that then pegged, funding to an account of government that is not operational, that cannot be drawn down. So the entire bill just sits on paper and will never work, right? So there are things, there are structures that can be, and that's why we're very careful with what structures and how it's implemented. If you go to gung-ho without thinking about structures, it is critical. Then you also need to think about resourcing. Resourcing is a critical aspect of what happens to bills. So you can have a very nice bill, very nice law, without thinking about how it's going to be funded, the day-to-day operations. is something else that we're paying particular attention to. By the way, there's an act for incentives that has been in Nigeria since the 90s. But the truth is that the way the bill is designed, and without locating it somewhere, it then becomes very difficult to implement also. We've looked at it, and we're hoping to come up with mechanisms as antidote to that type of circumstances. So I think that, while yes, I would not say that political will and the need for government to implement, wholeheartedly can be minimized. But what I will say to you is that sometimes the law itself needs to draw on practical, experience-driven mechanisms to ensure that laws can be implemented.
Okay.
And then, like I've said in closing, you must also think about what is the incentives of politicians and political office holders. This is critical. You must be able to align, because sometimes we want them to act as if they're from another planet, But the realism will mean that we have to think about what stories can they have to tell. Can they count this as a success of some kind?
Yeah.
Does it help them? But does it detract from the fact that we want to achieve our objectives?
Absolutely. In fact, I 100% agree with you, Kazim.
Yeah.
Because, the truth is, I've always said that tech, they need to be mindful of the kind of language they use when they're coming into businesses in Nigeria. Don't use languages like we're coming to disrupt the system. No politician wants to hear that you want to disrupt the system. So you actually must be diplomatic in your approach. And I love what you're saying. But back to the question that Elsie reminded me of, the, what's it called? Is there, so this tech, the startup bill and all of that, is there, so for startup businesses across Nigeria, are there going to be like a registration or something, some sort that, so that you can track everybody in that business, or they just come to you? How would it work?
So like I mentioned earlier, there will be like a startup portal of some sort, because for people to enjoy some of these incentives, you have to have data on them, right? But having said that, it is not like a gatekeeper kind of system, because if you look at the tech ecosystem in Nigeria, it's been very organic. Someone has a great idea, they wake up and just build, and I think that it should remain that way. But if you look at things like the accelerators and incubators, when you have more of that, then they're able to support any young person with a bright idea. But just for the sake of tracking, would we even give tax incentive to what startup will enjoy certain credit and all of that, there will be like a startup portal of some sorts.
All right, awesome. I wanted to just quickly ask, this is your comment, you wait. Let me take it. No, I was just going to ask that.
The person that sends this
is in the UK with you, Kazim.
Comments that used to cause trouble. But me, I know how to read your comments. So he says, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody is a cattle rearer. So what does he know about startup bill? This Nigerian government is full of herdsmen, cattle rearers, Boko Haram supporters, How do you address this big issue constitutionally? That's from Ade in the UK.
You read his comment. I was going to say that, is there a time frame to this? I don't know, are we looking at a time frame for when this would actually take effect and all of that?
Yeah, so definitely. So right now we're like reviewing the initial draft of the bill. So there are consultations going on, and it will get to like everybody, academia, the actual startups, investors. Across each state, there's an engagement team that is engaging, everyone in each state and or region, to get their input into the bill, so it covers everyone's interest. It's not just a south or nothing. It's like the whole country is going to get input. And I'm speaking specifically about like the tech ecosystem in each of those states and all of that. So we're looking for the president to submit the bill to the National Assembly in October. So between now and September, that engagement, that input is going on. I encourage people to go to www.startupbill.ng, www.startupbill.ng, to like contribute basically.
So it's open to everybody's contribution.
Literally. So there's a contribute button where you can say, this is what I think should go into this bill. And when we announce town halls or events, people should endeavor to register and attend, so that they they, their voices
will be heard.
Yeah.
Also, you wanted to add something quickly
I was
before?
just going to ask what the reception is so far in this system. I mean, you're saying this is happening across the nation. So is there a difference from region to region, or are you experiencing
Lagos?
I mean, so
will you see any tech person talking in Zamfara or somewhere?
But
I'm just asking.
Yeah, but I mean, so all of them will be included, because like it or not, there are people in Kano, in Kaduna, building.
Kaduna is you hear where I call Zamfara.
Even Borno, and all of that. Yeah.
Well, I'm not discriminating, but I'm saying that in terms of the level of what's it called, engagement, I think a lot of people would come from down south this way. Because
so yes, but that's what we want to try and avoid.
Yeah,
we don't
so
want it to just be a southern thing. Like everybody should be involved, and come to the table. I have a comment about just the political will thing that you said. So people ask us a lot that how is this bill different? And there are three ways that we answer that question. So there is the ecosystem players, which are people that actually the bill affects. There is like government stakeholders across states, and there's a presidency. So one of the interesting things is that the initiative actually originated from the presidency. They reached out to a couple of startups and all of that, and then we started the process to develop the bill and all of that. So these three actors are all part of the process. And I think that one of the key things you try to do when you're doing a project like this is ensure that all the relevant stakeholders are involved. There's actually a quote from the presidency that we typically use, that says that we need to create an enabling environment for the youth, and we're holding, the government and presidency to that, and we're working with them, to ensure that the bill benefits everyone. Not just in the south, but in the north.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Everywhere across Nigeria. Thank you so much. I think we've had an amazing conversation. Yes. Thank you, Kazim. I was going to ask about how we're going to solve security issues, but we've run out of time. But we hope to bring you addressing Ade's comments. And thank you to my guardian angel that corrected me on the Moderna. All right, thank you, Elsie. We had an amazing conversation. So before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at PlusTvAfrica. That's the handle. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, we're planning a giveaway to say thank you to you for believing in the Ways brand and following the conversation. So do well to follow us now. It's at PlusTvAfrica. Like, share, comment, and invite your family and friends to also watch us and follow us as well. So if you missed today's quote, here it is again. Science and policy making thrive on challenge and questioning. They are vital to the health of inquiry and democracy. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.